When you're done watching this video, you will go straight into your studio and master your own songs with confidence. Because in this video, I will show you some neat tips and techniques that you can use when you're mastering your own music. Even though you've done something that you kind of never figured out, you don't like the sound of it, I will show you how you can lift your mix from good sounding to great sounding. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Ole from Subphotic.com, where I try to help makers of rap music get better sounding songs, bangers. In this video, I'm going to show you how I master songs. And as a supplement to this video, I have the free mixing cheat sheet. The link is in the description, where I give you 15 cheat codes to a better mix and my 10-step workflow that I use every time I mix songs. Just to recap my last video about basic mastering, I said that listening is the most important part of mastering. Learning how to listen both emotionally and analytically when you are mastering songs. I have 13 different tips and tricks that I will share with you now. Have your notes app ready or a pen and a paper and take notes, because it's going to be quite specific. Tip number 1, mid-side processing. So I'll use an EQ and I will put it in mid or side mode, and I will enhance or decrease the volume of whatever is needed to be decreased. Example, the vocal is not popping through as much as I want it to, so I use an EQ to boost the mid in the 2 to 3K area, like so. That's one technique. Another technique is to cut away some of the sides in the low end so that I have a cleaner low end. Tip number 2, compressing the peaks. When I listen to the song and I find it to be a bit dynamic, I can do this by using a transient designer and lowering the attack a bit, or I can use a standard compressor with a fast attack and a medium release and play with the threshold until some of the peaks are gone, or I can use a clipper to clip away the peaks. And it really depends on the type of song that you have, especially if you have a very pronounced snare that has a lot of high frequency transient energy. You can use a multi-band compressor to tame those peaks a bit only in the highs. And you really have to listen and don't overdo it, and maybe do it in series with a compressor and maybe a clipper and a transient designer. You can use all three maybe. You'll just have to experiment. Tip number 3, automation. So you have different sections in a song, and when you've listened to it emotionally and you listen for whatever feeling is popping up, you can use automation to amplify those emotions. So for example, if it's the transition between a verse and a hook, you can use volume automation to just lower the volume slightly, maybe half a decibel or so you have a greater impact when the hook hits or the chorus or whatever hits. So that's using automation. You can use it to automate the compressor, for example. So you have a compressor on the mid to tame the vocal a bit, and then when the chorus hits, you want to do the opposite, expand the vocal a bit, and then you do that with an EQ automated. Tip number 3, I call this the mono maker. This EQ right here has this button called mono maker, and I really love that term, so I'll use it anyways. I can use the mono maker here, or I can use a Pro Q3, for example, and put it in side mode, and I will high pass the lows, and then I will pull it up until I've get rid of all the side information that I need down in the spectrum. And tip number 5 is the opposite. It's the stereo maker, and there are different approaches to this. My favorite approach is to use an EQ with the right and left modes. Pro Q3 has that option. The classic Manly EQ has this option, which is famous for being a mastering EQ. And what it essentially does is that you can boost or cut in different ranges on the different channels. So for example, 2000 hertz on the left channel and 4000 hertz on the right channel. Just experiment with what sounds good, and then you will get a bit of stereo separation doing only that. Maybe a decibel or 2 will get you a long way. Step number 6, you've probably heard this before. It's a popular technique. It's called the Pultec Trick, where you suppress the low end and you boost it at the same time, like this. I'll show you here on the Pro Q3. This is the Pultec Trick in practice. Sweet, right? And you can use a Pultec emulation by doing this. You essentially lift the bass without it becoming excessive. And you can do the same trick in the high ends, like so. and it's really effective. What I like to do is take a Pultec emulation from Universal Audio. It's the one I use, and I'll just put it on the chain. I don't do anything about it. It instantly sounds better because the music is being driven through the tubes, and for some songs it doesn't work. It really depends. 9 times out of 10, this is a great plugin to apply anyways. Tip number 7, left and right compression for width. And this resembles kind of what I mentioned before with boosting or cutting at 2 to 4K region on the left and right side to cut different. This is essentially the same thing as I mentioned before with cutting or boosting at different frequency ranges with the EQ, but here you use a compressor. For example, I tend to use the Shadow Hills mastering compressor plugin from Universal Audio. You can use essentially any compressor for this. Put your compressor in dual mono mode and you compress differently on each side. You might use an optical compressor on the left side and you use a solid state compressor on the right side. So you use different compression algorithms on each side, and you might also experiment with having different ratios, different attack times, and so on and so forth. Make sure you don't compress one side a lot more than another side. Tip number 8, mid or side compression for separation. So for example, I can compress the mid a bit in the top frequencies to expand the width of the high-end elements, and I can compress the sides further down the frequency spectrum to get the mid to pop a bit more. This is a great technique to alter something that needs to be altered. Step number 9, compression for character. So you've probably heard this tip before, that you can use, for example, colorful compressors. Fairchild is famous for adding color to the signal. I really recommend the Novatron from Kush Audio. It has some different color settings, and what you essentially do is that you experiment with the attack time and the release time, and different vibes will come depending on how fast or slow you're attacking and releasing the signal. Don't overdo it. Go slowly and neatly and just do subtle. You can also do it in parallel. You have a mix knob on that compressor, and when it's parallel, it's less intrusive to the song. Tip number 9, multiband compression to increase or decrease some elements. Multiband compressors are great for example, controlling the low end and the bass and the sub bass. You can put it on like this and just have it going without reducing the bass, but you just keep it tight. You make sure that the bass is not bouncing all over the place, muddying up the mix and interfering with the vocals and the high end. And you can also do the same thing on the high end. You can increase the level at the top end and then compressing it so that it won't sound harsh. This is a great tip. I use this all the time. Also, you can use a multiband compressor to increase or decrease the mid-range. Step number 11, and this is controversial. I've done it a couple of times. When a song is sounding dry and sterile, I just put a reverb on the mix. I'll have the reverb as a send effect going into the mix bus or the master bus in this case. And I will adjust it so that it will be more or less inaudible, but when you switch it off, you feel the difference. I will do the math on the BPM. 60,000 divided on the BPM equals the number that I'm going to dial in on the reverb. I will have a short delay. Maybe I'll time it to 2. So if it's 80, for example, if it's 85 BPM, it will be 0.7 something, and then I will multiply it by 2 and I will get 1.41 something. And then I will go with that. It will increase the space of the song. It will increase the sense of completeness and density. Tip number 12, special effects. You can use stereo wideners. Be careful though, you can experience phase issues, unwanted artifacts when doing this technique, when using plugins like that. So use them sparingly, but I sometimes use them. My hardware SSL Fusion has a function called width. I use that a bit to widen stuff up, but I use it sparingly because in my opinion, there are better ways to make width, such as what I mentioned in tip number 5. You can also use chorus, flangers, phasers, and saturators and exciters. Those are all great, used sparingly to add some extra character to the song. That's also advisable, but be careful. Don't overdo it because it will ruin the song if done without caution. Tip number 13, limiters. I showed you how to limit the song in the last video with the basic limiting. So you're aiming for around -8 to -6 decibels of integrated LUFS. You'll read that Spotify prefers -14 LUFS, but you don't want your song to sound quieter than the other songs. And even though it gets turned down, it's much better to have Spotify turning your song down than turning your song up. And you also risk that your song is too dynamic when you haven't applied enough limiting. Hit me in the comments below if you agree or disagree on this notion right here. -8 to -6 integrated LUFS. I always limit in series, so I will have one limiter that has a fast attack and a medium release, and I will do some limiting there. And then I will have another limiter that has a slower attack and a bit faster release. It depends on the situation. And I'll do my process like this. Look at this. This is a great way to limit, I've found. And then I can use a clipper or two, and I can use maybe the Oxford inflator or the classic clipper from EQing Multimedia. I can even use the clipper on the stock Logic compressor. I can use bit crusher slightly, just to get rid of the loudest peaks and make everything nice and tucked in. And that's how I limit. I always have the last limiter set to -0.6 decibels. So you're done processing the stereo file and you're ready to export it and upload it on stream services and what have you. But are you sure that you're ready to export your song just yet? In this video, I will show you how to make sure that everything is set for you to bounce your song and upload it on streaming services. Hit that video and I hope I'll catch you there. Peace!